Everyone wants to achieve something, in business, in money, in status, in life itself. People work hard, stay busy, push themselves, and still the result is often disappointing. Sometimes nothing happens at all. Sometimes there is progress, but nowhere near the level they hoped for. And the reason is usually not laziness, bad luck, or lack of talent. More often, people simply do not understand what actually drives achievement. What is the real force behind results? What causes movement in life? What allows one person to break through while another stays stuck in place, even with equal effort? At the center of all of it is one thing: power. Everything we manage to build, win, protect, or reach in life depends on our ability to generate and apply power. Thoughtful. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal growth and success, because most people hear the word power and immediately think of domination, control, politics, money, or physical strength. But power is much broader than that. It is one of the deepest laws behind how the world works. If you really understand it, you begin to see why some people seem to move through life with momentum, why opportunities bend toward them, why resistance seems to weaken in front of them, and why others, despite all their strain, never create the same effect. This is part of a larger idea I've been exploring, the idea of creating a position in life where success stops looking random, where it starts to feel like the world itself is cooperating with your direction. A state where luck no longer feels accidental, a state where the environment begins to support your goals instead of blocking them. And to understand that, you first have to understand power. From the time we are children, we already have a rough sense of what power is. As kids, the strongest person in the world often seems to be our father, then maybe our mother, then an older sibling. Later, in school, we notice that strength often belongs to the bigger kid, the older kid, or the one backed by a group. Then we grow up a little more and begin to realize that power can also come from tools, from authority, from influence, from having the truth on your side, from numbers, from structure, from systems. Then in physics class we get the formal version. We learn that force is what causes movement, acceleration, change in direction, pressure, distortion. It is the reason objects move at all. And that idea matters far beyond mechanics, because the same principle exists outside the physical world. Human beings deal with invisible forces every day. Social pressure is a force. Fear is a force. Belief is a force. Authority is a force. Influence is a force. Desire is a force. Focus is a force. Competition is a force. If you pay attention, you realize that life is filled with non-physical forms of force, pushing, pulling, shaping, accelerating, and bending outcomes. So if we strip away the technical language and speak more broadly, power is the ability to overcome resistance. That is the simplest useful definition in life. Power is what allows you to keep moving in the direction of your goal when something pushes back, and resistance is everywhere. It shows up in markets, in competition, in people, in systems, in your own psychology, in fatigue, in distraction, in fear, in doubt, in limited time, in limited resources, in limited attention. The reason this matters so much is because life is, in many ways, a continuous struggle over limited resources. Not all resources, but limited ones. That distinction matters. No one fights over what is unlimited. We all need air. We all need sunlight. But because those things are generally available, there is no competition for them in the usual sense. Power becomes necessary when what you want is scarce. Money is scarce, attention is scarce, access is scarce, great partnerships are scarce, great positions are scarce, trust is scarce, time is scarce, opportunity, in many situations, is scarce. And the moment something is limited, resistance appears. The resistance comes from other people wanting the same thing, from systems designed to filter people out, from complexity, from uncertainty, from the cost of action. In plain English, resistance is competition. And if you want to consistently win in competitive environments, you need power. That is why power is attractive to everyone, whether they admit it or not, because power is the thing that allows a person with modest beginnings and no major resources to still create extraordinary results. But there is something even more important here. Power rarely comes from brute effort alone. Real power appears when effort is multiplied, and that multiplication happens through leverage. So the next question is obvious. Where does power actually come from? Imagine for a second that you are a hose with water running through it. The water is your energy, your life force, your attention, your daily capacity. The width of the hose represents the amount of time available to you. And here is the hard truth. The width is fixed. Nobody gets a 30-hour day. Nobody gets a 40-hour day. We all live inside the same 24 hours. So if the diameter of the hose cannot be changed, then there are only a few ways to increase the power of the stream. One option is to increase the pressure. In human terms, that means more effort, more intensity, more persistence, more labor. The second option is to focus the stream. Think of how firefighters use a nozzle to concentrate water into a stronger jet. The same water becomes more powerful because it is directed through a smaller opening with precision. That is what a goal does. It concentrates your energy. So if we reduce the whole thing down, power grows from two main sources. The first is effort. The second is direction. In other words, how much force you apply and how well you focus it. Most people try to improve their lives using the first method only. They try to solve everything by simply working harder, and that is understandable. It is the most obvious tool. It is available to almost everyone. It does not require deep thought at first. You can always just push more, work longer, sleep less, grind harder, but effort alone has limits. Your time is limited. Your energy is limited. Your nervous system is limited. Pure force works in the beginning, but eventually it collides with exhaustion. Then comes burnout, then frustration, then emotional collapse. That is why the smarter path is not to begin with more effort. The smarter path is to begin with the right target. First choose the right goal. Then pour your effort into it. First focus, then intensify. That order changes everything. At this point, people usually ask, what about knowledge? What about technology? What about tools? What about timing, location, favorable conditions, market cycles, the right connections, the right moment? All of those matter, but they are not the foundation. They are secondary. To understand where they belong, you need to understand the basic sequence behind achievement. Every meaningful result follows a pattern. First, you identify a goal. This is essential because the goal acts as the point where your limited resources get concentrated. Without a goal, your energy disperses, your attention leaks in 10 directions, your effort becomes smoke. The goal is what turns scattered energy into a beam. Second, once the goal exists, effort must be applied. A goal without action is fantasy. Action without a goal is noise. Third, when focused direction and real effort come together, they create power. Fourth, that power allows you to overcome resistance. And once resistance is overcome, you gain access to results, resources, and outcomes. Fifth, those resources then satisfy your needs, improve your position, and create the next layer of opportunity. That is the sequence. Goal, effort, power, overcoming resistance, gaining resources, satisfying needs. Once you understand that, the other pieces fall into place. Knowledge, technology, and tools are not substitutes for a goal. They are instruments used in service of a goal. If you do not know where you are going, even the best tools are meaningless. A person can collect skills, books, apps, gadgets, degrees, systems, and strategies for years and still stay stuck simply because none of it is directed at something clear enough to matter. The same goes for timing and circumstances. People love to talk about the right place at the right time. And yes, timing can matter, environment can matter, conditions can matter. But the truth is, you cannot even define the right time or the right conditions without first knowing the goal. Your destination determines what timing is favorable. Your target determines which place is useful. Your purpose determines which conditions are helpful and which are irrelevant. So timing and environment are not the source of progress. They are supportive factors that make movement easier once your direction is already defined. Which brings us to the most important question of all. How do you choose the right goal? Because if direction is what concentrates force, then choosing badly means wasting your life in diffusion. A real goal has to meet two conditions. First, it must genuinely matter to you. It must light something up inside you. It must create energy, rather than merely demand it. A weak goal drains you. A real goal activates you. That matters because energy does not come only from sleep, food, or motivation. A huge part of human energy comes from meaning. When a person is moving towards something that feels deeply significant, they can endure more, focus longer, and recover faster. Second, the goal must be strong enough to defeat your other temptations. It must be so compelling that saying no to distractions becomes easier. This is what most people miss. A goal is not just a nice dream or a direction on paper. A real goal competes. It competes against comfort, entertainment, social approval, random desires, short-term pleasures, and every other option fighting for your attention. If your goal cannot beat those things, then it is not powerful enough yet. The purpose of a goal is concentration. It is supposed to gather your efforts, your thoughts, your time, and your energy into one point. If it cannot hold your attention against weaker alternatives, then it cannot multiply your force. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the difference between successful people and truly great people. And the distinction, as I see it, is this. Successful people often become very good at achieving goals. They build the habit of moving toward targets and getting results. But great people are usually captured by goals so large, so meaningful, and so alive that the goal itself begins to organize their life. It starts telling them what kind of actions are necessary. Their greatness does not come first. The scale of the goal pulls greatness out of them. Great people are not made great by isolated actions. They are shaped by goals big enough to demand a new version of them. That is why chasing a borrowed goal is so dangerous. If your goal was handed to you by society, by family pressure, by trends, by status anxiety, by comparison, or by someone else's idea of success, it will usually fail one of the two tests. Either it will not truly energize you, or it will not be strong enough to dominate your attention. And if it fails those tests, it is not really your goal. You may still pursue it for a while. You may even make money from it. But it will not generate the kind of force required for extraordinary movement. So let's pull all of this together. To satisfy any meaningful need and achieve any serious result, you need power. Power is the ability to overcome resistance. Resistance appears because life involves competition over limited resources. To build power, you need two things above all: a goal and effort. A goal without effort changes nothing. Effort without a goal gets wasted. Everything else, knowledge, tools, technology, timing, environment, connections, favorable circumstances, all of that matters only after direction is established. Those things can accelerate your movement, but they cannot replace the need for a real target. And if the target is not truly yours, if it does not energize you, and if it cannot dominate your attention over lesser distractions, then your force will stay scattered. But if you carry your goal with you in every step, if you stop making aimless moves, if you keep that goal in sight and direct your energy toward it again and again, then barriers begin to look different. The world does not become easy, but your relationship to resistance changes. You stop feeling blocked by every obstacle because your power grows. And once your force is concentrated, many things that used to feel impossible start becoming manageable. Even knowledge itself should be seen in this light. Knowledge is not something to collect for decoration. It is not a substitute for purpose. Knowledge is a tool, and like every tool, it only becomes valuable when used in service of a meaningful objective. So do not make the mistake of endlessly gathering information while avoiding direction. Do not spend your life stockpiling methods with no mission behind them. Chase the right goal, focus your energy, apply your effort, build power, and let that power carry you through the resistance, standing between you and the life you actually want.